You were never meant to ask. From the moment you were born, death was painted for you final, dark, untouchable. They gave it names, the end, of unknown, the void. They wrapped it in fear, silence, ritual, and grief. And they told you don't look too closely. But what if death was never the end? What if the greatest lie ever told wasn't just about what happens after life, but what death really is? You've been trained to see it as a failure of the body, a collapse of systems, a vanishing act. But ancient civilizations, mystics, and hidden teachings point to something else entirely. Death is not the termination of life. It is the transition of consciousness. The body dies, but you do not. And deep down, you've always known this. That quiet pull inside you, that whisper in your dreams, that moment of déjà vu, those aren't coincidences. They're memories, fragments of the soul reaching back through time, trying to remind you this isn't your first life, and it won't be your last. You are not a bag of cells wired for fear. You are an immortal frequency, encoded with divine intelligence, experiencing matter through the lens of form and death. It's just the door back home. Why was this hidden from you? Why would institutions from religion to science frame the greatest transition in existence as the ultimate horror? Because a soul that doesn't fear death can't be controlled. If you knew what you truly are, what you've been, and what you're becoming, nothing could hold you. You'd stop clinging to systems that sell you comfort. You'd stop obeying out of fear. You'd remember. And that memory, that spark of soul awareness, is what this world was designed to suppress. They made you believe that death is a punishment, that you must earn heaven, that your fate depends on approval, forgiveness, submission. But the truth, you were never condemned. You were never separate. And you don't need to be saved, because you were never lost, only sleeping. And now the awakening begins. In this act, we rip off the veil. We examine how humanity was programmed to fear its own return. We explore the ancient blueprints Egyptian, Hermetic. We decoded never saw death as an end, but as a sacred initiation. Death was not a curse. It was a passage, a graduation, a journey through realms most have forgotten. And before we step into those realms in the next act, we must ask, who created the lie? And what happens to yourself the moment the body exhales for the last time? You're about to find out. So what really happens when you die? Forget the tunnel cliches, the flashing lights, the sterile stories of heaven or nothing. The truth is older, stranger, bester. When the last breath leaves your lips, you are not gone. You are released. Released from the cage of form, the illusion of separation, the limitations of five senses. And in that moment, your soul remembers everything. The veil lifts, time dissolves, and you realize you were never inside the body. The body was inside you. You are awareness. You're boundless, electric. And then it begins. The ancient texts spoke of it with reverence. The weighing of the heart, the bardo, of what? Different names, same process. Your soul embarks on the journey of return, but it is not a straight line. It is a mirror. The afterlife isn't a place, it's a frequency. And where you go depends on what you are. You are drawn like a magnet to the resonance of your own inner state. Did you live in fear, in hatred, in apathy? You'll pass through shadows, fragments of your own unprocessed energy. Not punishment, purification. But if you lived in truth, love, awareness, you rise higher and higher. You pass through astral landscapes shaped by your beliefs, your karma, your clarity. Angels, demons, like beings, hallways of memory, all real, all symbolic. You meet the guides, the council, the architects. They greet you like an old traveler returning from a long voyage. They don't judge. They reflect. You see your life, every action, every thought, but not with guilt. with understanding, because you came here to learn, to grow, to evolve consciousness. And Earth, it's not a prison, it's a school, one of the most intense, sacred, and difficult ones. But here's what they don't tell you. You chose to come again and again. You signed soul contracts. You picked your family, your wounds, your lessons, even your death. Not from punishment, but from purpose. And after each incarnation, you return to the source, to the sea of soul, to the oversoul that holds all your lifetimes like pearls on a single thread. You realize that you are not just this life. You are every life, every mask, every story. And in this space between lives, you choose what comes next. To rest, to serve, to return. You're not forced to reincarnate. But if you're not, Tony, if the soul still has blind spots, attachments, karmic deeds, you will feel the pull. And Earth calls you back. But here's the key. Each time you return, you bring more light, more memory, more you. The cycle is not punishment. It is the spiral of ascension. And one day when you've seen through every illusion, healed every fracture, you'll return not as a seeker, but as a sovereign. Not as the student, but as the master. Let me ask you, if your soul is eternal, if you are source in human form, then why do you keep forgetting who you are? Why life after life do you return, blind, lost, repeating the same karmic loops? There is a reason. There is a system, and it was built. Ancient seers called them archons. Others spoke of lords of karma, the demiurge, or the false light matrix. Different names, same truth. They are not gods. They are not evil in the way Hollywood shows you. They are engineers of soul recycling. After death, as your consciousness rises from the body, you're met not just by light, but by a trap, a projection, the tunnel, the comforting voices, the life review, the call to come back and fix your karma. It's not always what it seems. The trap is subtle. It's not violence. It's guilt. It's obligation. It's unfinished business. And if your soul is still fragmented, still unaware it complies, it chooses return again and again and again. You've heard it before. You have lessons to learn. You chose this suffering. But what if that script was implanted? What if there's a part of the afterlife that's been hijacked? Hijacked by entities that feed on human energy, on fear, on pain, on drama. Not because they're cartoon villains, but because they depend on it. You are a source of divine power. You create with your thoughts, your feelings, your imagination. And when you forget that, you become a battery. You are reborn in systems you didn't design, into families that repeat generational trauma, into a world programmed for forgetting. The Matrix isn't just digital, it's metaphysical. And here's the harsh truth. The cycle of reincarnation isn't always about growth. Sometimes it's about containment. But not all is lost. Because within you, buried beneath the programming, is a spark, a signal from the higher self, the part of you that never entered the loop. It whispers in dreams, in déjà vu, in the knowing that something is off, that you are more, that this life isn't your first or your last, that the system is real, but so is your power to exit it. And that's what the architects fear. Not rebellion, but remembrance. Because once you remember what you are, you stop playing their game. You become unbound. So now you know, the death you feared was never the end, but the beginning of a choice. Because what lies beginning this life is not one path but two. The first is the familiar loop, rebirth, forgetfulness, lessons, more pain, more growth, another try. But the second path is freedom, the exit, the escape, the soul's return home, not to heaven, not to some reward for obedience, but to source, to your true self, the one being name, body, gender, or story, the one that was never born and never truly died. But how? How do you escape the loop? Not with fear, not with anger, but with awareness. The secret is this: you were never trapped by force. You were trapped by choice, a choice made in ignorance. But once you become conscious of the game, you are no longer bound by its rules. When the moment of death comes, and the tunnel appears, you pulse, you breathe. You don't follow the light blindly. You look within. You remember, I am source. I am not obligated. I choose. And in that moment of clarity, you open the door no one told you existed. Not the tunnel, not the life review, but the void being the veil, the space of pure awareness. And from there, you can choose, truly choose, to rest, to return as a master, not a victim, or to ascend into realms being this earth's echo chamber. The mystics called it moksha, liberation, the end of samsara, the exit from the wheel. And all along, the key was never in the stars, in the gods, or in the rituals. It was within your own consciousness. It always was. This is the final teaching. You are not a soul trapped in a body. You are the infinite dreaming it is limited. And now it's time to wake up. You are not meant to be recycled. You are meant to rise.